we've broken their process down. I have developed a process that I call the seamless succession, and it's a 5-step process. And if you'll just kind of let me kind of run through those steps very quickly, we want to make this process as simple as possible because people have a business to run. When they go to sell their business, they need to focus on keeping that business operating well so that you maintain the value of it. You don't want to take your eye off the ball. Step 1 of our process is just exploring, and we begin with a focus of the big picture. We want to understand the practice owner's goals and key elements of the practice. We talk about desired timing for a sale. I mean, timing is a very important part of what we do. We want to understand the strengths of the business and just the vision of a successful transfer. So that's the first step, is really just kind of bring some clarity around your goals and identify the marketable elements of the practice. Step 2, as you mentioned, is pricing. We help set a price that's based on 6 critical market-based factors. And as I mentioned, payment terms are really crucial when you're considering value. So our pricing recommendations assume that the seller gets the maximum cash at closing and the buyer takes responsibility for client retention. The third step of our process is marketing, and this is really where we help bring in numerous buyers for every practice that we sell. And as I said, it's the cumulative effect of years of marketing to the accounting profession, and we've developed a time-tested system of identifying suitable candidates for the practice. So we only introduce qualified buyers who are financially and professionally capable of buying the practice. And then the next step is negotiating, and just real briefly, a nice thing about using an intermediary such as myself is you don't have to do the negotiating on your own. We lead the process by having all offers flow through us, which creates a well-paced and a very deliberate negotiation. So, and often we're negotiating with multiple buyers at once, and we also have financing sources so we can help those buyers get money to maximize the cash at closing. And then finally, we work on the transition, and we help our clients develop a strategic, effective transition plan. And we feel like the right buyer coupled with a good plan assures a brief yet very smooth transfer of clients and staff. And so what we're trying to do with the transition is to clarify the roles and the responsibility of both the buyer and the seller after the closing. Those roles are often misunderstood. In the private sale, I think the seller tends to take on too much of the responsibility for transitioning, and it's really up to the buyer to develop those client and staff relationships shortly after close.
That makes an awful lot of sense, and in fact, you've answered very articulately the second question that I was going to ask you. One thing I did want to also mention, I think, is the terms part of the thing that you were talking about that does seem to be so important. I have a feeling that particularly if a smallish practice was to try and sell the firm on his or her own, that a buyer, particularly an experienced buyer, may well be able to get an advantage over them because of familiarity with the buying process and the types of terms that would tend to favor the buyer more so than the seller. So I would suspect that for a practice that hadn't engaged in too many purchase or sale transactions in the past, it would be very strongly advisable to work through an agent such as yourself.
Well, I would agree with you. I think, and what gives you the confidence to negotiate a good deal is often having more than one buyer. So even if, I have a lot of clients that they've helped their clients buy and sell businesses, so they're familiar with what's required of brokering a deal. But you still can't compete with the fact that we bring so many additional buyers to the table. We don't put up any barriers to buyers signing up with us. We don't charge them any fees. We basically want them to all sign up, and then we'll kind of put them through our process to sort through them so that they get routed to the correct practices